The pirates. The time it took to calm down Jesse was enough for little Kareem to start bonding already, and he had started latching on to her. The big woman was all too ready and happy to gush over the little boy, which, to be frank, is exactly that the little guy needs. Stable and sober support from one direction, and unconditional gushing love from the other. It takes only a few minutes until Jesse says they're going home and bundles both herself and Kareem into her car. Beck follows and sets his car's remote piloting to go home. It starts puttering off at its own rate, completely sane and sober in its pace and following all traffic laws. Kareem is staring at everything as if it were all new and unimaginable, which Beck can't blame him for. He just switched everything up about the kid's life in about 2 hours worth of effort. Of course, he was off balance and confused. The kid actually reaches out to poke him as Jesse drives comfortably. Beck just gives him an amused look for that. This is real? Yup. But Kareem starts and then trails off. He just sort of stares even as he cuddles into Jesse and clearly tries to place his thoughts. After a few more blocks, Beck's communicator vibrates and he pulls it out to see what's going on now. Training canceled because everyone's too traumatized. Yeah, I suppose that was coming one way or another. Beck notes somewhat sourly. What? Kareem asks. Apparently everyone having a really bad time thanks to those slavers doesn't mean that they're all suddenly ready to pick up a weapon and practice. A lot of them need peace, not problems. Beck replies. I thought you already sorted through those that wanted to be part of the militia from those who wanted to be civilians. I'm guessing this is one of those things that happen because of different races. I've heard people describe humans as apex threat before, which isn't a bad way of looking at us, but apex races react differently. I know, Jesse remarks before frowning. So things seem normal to you guys, and now you're finding that people are doing a lot of faking for who feels good and ready to fight. Right. Also, the training itself would help a lot of normal humans in dealing with things. By associating the sounds of combat to something they themselves can do something about, and by connecting with a group around them, it would help a lot. Hell, it helped me a lot. But there aren't many humans, and training for humans is more than just a biological difference. It's the mental as well, the sociological too. We're going to need to rethink things. People having their PTSD kick off due to loud sounds kicking off others' PTSD due to their freaking out and causing a massive chain reaction is just a massive mess of a problem. I'm sorry, Kareem says, and Beck gives him an odd look. Why are you apologizing? Beck asks, even as Jesse shifts ever so slightly so he's cuddled closer. I reminded them of bad things, Kareem says, because I'm a low shab. You're a child, you've done nothing wrong, and like I said before, anyone that thinks otherwise is wrong. But are you thinking that you're at fault? Beck cuts him off. Kareem pauses and nods. Then you're wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. Jesse gives Kareem an interesting glance that the man has a hard time interpreting before they pull off the main road and start ascending to the top of the building where the upper few levels were theirs. She pulls in among the many other cars and unwinds. Beck glances around at the oddity. It looks like everyone's here. Hopefully they won't overload the poor kid. How thorough of a call did you give? Beck asks, and Jesse just beams at him as she rises out herself while holding Kareem. I just made sure it was passed around. She gushes before slithering towards the main elevator. I see, Kareem, little buddy, prepare for a lot. Remember, no one is going to hurt you and you're safe, okay? Beck asks, and Kareem gives him a goggle-eyed look. What do you mean? Do you really think that Jesse here is my only wife? Oh no. She's the head wife. There are many others. 50 women isn't many. It's barely enough to count you as married, Jesse retorts as they all get into the elevator. There's some unconscious stepping over of Jesse's tail as she bundles herself in. The Greater Plains Nagasha, Might not be one of the larger breeds of snake woman, but there's still a hell of a lot of tail to contend with. You didn't need them to be a jungle Nagasha to wrap someone up in the tail and have room to spare. Made his home life rather interesting. Although part of him can still hear his mother screaming at him that he has decided to lay with serpents and spiders and how utterly vile such a thing is. There's an outright cheer as the doors open and Beck's eyes widen at the sight of the welcome to the family. Banners and streamers all over. Whoa! Kareem mutters in awe even as Jezzy carries him in and confetti rains down from above. "You girls were just looking for an excuse to party, weren't you?" Beck asks with a smile. "All work and no play makes wifeys go crazy." Miral's notes. The delicate-looking Weaver Archna was very much the homemaker when she wasn't manning the guns on a battleship. The interplay of dark blue, ivory white and dark blue across her spider body, and the almost human, like one that's situated on the front, is borderline mesmerizing. "I knew letting you watch horror movies would be a mistake," Beck remarks as he watches Kareem get passed from new mother to new mother as everyone gladly gushes over the little boy. "I can't help it. They're funny. The special effects are so bad and the stories are so silly." Mirals giggles in memory. "I mean really. You humans have no idea what dread Axiom effects or aliens were truly like, do you?" "We didn't. We're getting the memos now," Beck returns. "I bet that Zayden and Yaoya were thrilled to see them," Mirals teases. Actually, one of the top videos passed around the Undaunted is when one of our men, married to a whole mob of Zayden and Yaoya, made them all watch the movies and recorded them without their knowledge. "The freakouts were amazing," Beck says with an evil giggle as he holds out his hands and uses his thumb and forefinger to paint a little window in front of him. "You're awful." She chides him with an enormous smile. "And you love it," he counters. "So, what compelled this?" she asks, and Beck remembers the sound of shattering glass. "I remember all too clearly what it's like to have no one on your side. So I fixed that." "No one?" "His mother was killed as he was born. This made him a pariah among his own people. No family, no friends, and then he tried to sign up for the militia so he'd be too strong to hurt again. I remember that feeling. I got through it. Because there was nothing behind me and everything ahead. Kid had nothing behind him, so I put an entire world ahead." He explains, and Mirals grabs him for a tight hug. "You're such a sweetheart," she whispers to him. "Oh no, the girls are going to spoil him rotten." "Maybe, but I think the fact that he's going to be a big brother is going to be the thing that grounds him. After all, he has to look out for them." "That's true. That's very true," Mirals says, wrapping her human-like legs around him. "Even if he's a year old, he's not going to have much on his siblings. Each race develops at different rates. Slobes are one of the fastest in the galaxy. He'll be plenty more mature than any of his siblings." Beck notes as he watches Kareem try snack after snack. All of them something that's good and healthy for a Slobe's biology, and something he can healthily intake. Although it is odd to see him just grab the food and have that count as him eating it. Thankfully, he can see that his personal pantry is well and truly locked still, which means that there shouldn't be any deadly accidents waiting to happen. Actually, now's probably a good time to bring that up. After a kiss on the cheek from him, Mirals lets him go, and he heads over to where people are still gushing around Kareem. Thankfully, they're doing it 5 or 6 at a time, a lot of people, but not the whole blast, which would be too much for anyone. Kareem is looking from person to person, and takes a few moments to notice that Beck has snuck in. The kid pauses and stares at him for a few moments, clearly looking for something to say, but constantly stumbling over himself with another observation or questions. He's far from coherent. Beck holds out his hand. "You'll have time to ask all your questions. I'm just making sure you know something important," Beck says, and Kareem nods. Beck then points to the locked cabinet. My kind like eating things that are very dangerous for other races, yours included. Everything in that? Dangerous. Maybe even deadly. Understand? Kareem nods. Say out loud you understand, little buddy. I really don't want you getting hurt. I understand. The place with that lock on it is where your bad food is, Kareem says, and Beck nods. Good enough, he says, and Kareem looks at him oddly. Lots of questions, I know. Who are you really? Kareem asks, and Beck shrugs. Baron Beck Ali, non-commissioned commander of the Undaunted, field medic, soldier, trooper. I suppose pirate as well. Retired or active, a pirate's a pirate, hubby. Maka, a desert Nagasha replies. She had started taking a combination of Japanese and Egyptian for painting her face. It was stark white with what looked like the classical Egyptian eyes, but there were almost kabuki-like red coloration to it as well. It was a weird mashup in Beck's mind, but she was an alien, so it may very well just be a more exotic desert Nagasha face paint that simply matches up to his ideas of Egyptian and Japanese. Does that mean you do bad things like those other pirates? Kareem asks, suddenly trying to flinch away from everyone at once. Careful, little guy. You nearly threw yourself off the table, Beck says with his hand already there to catch Kareem. And no, these girls turned privateer before they came to Vuxa, and then they became legit rulers. We're all former pirates, now legal government. But a pirate's a pirate, right? Kareem asks. There are different kinds of pirates. Some are thieves, some are smugglers, some are mercenaries, some are indeed slavers or drug dealers. The Claw rarely went into slavery. The only times they tried was in great desperation, and the last time they tried it, it backfired big time. Is it really backfiring if it leads to better jobs and eventually into a wealthy retirement? Maka asks and gets a cross look from Beck. But yes, we were more thieves and mercenaries than anything. The mercenary work tried forcing us into the slavery business, and it backfired on our old boss so hard that she vanished into a deep, dark hole and has not been seen since. Backroom court deals to avoid scandal. She got raked over the coals and is serving 10 years in prison. No chance of parole. Beck answers, Really? I would have thought the Foza a bit bad person would have wormed out with a better deal than that. Maka counters and Beck snorts. It turns out there isn't much sympathy for someone who legally created their own daughter just to torture and enslave her. That kind of thing is a major no-no no matter what part of the galaxy you're in, Beck replies. Anyways, Kareem, this is an important thing to know, all right? People change. Some for the better, some for the worse. These girls here change for the better. They want lives full of happiness and goodness. And they want you part of that. Does that make sense? But if people didn't change, I'd just be some angry punk likely to get themselves killed in a useless war for reasons that I barely understand. Instead, I'm here. We have a room ready for you. Maka offers, and Kareem looks up at her in surprise. A room? You get your own bedroom, Beck says. And Kareem looks to him, then to the women all around him, and then nods. He reaches up for Beck to carry him, and Beck picks him up with ease. The room is freshly remodeled to the comfort standards of a slope, which is something that most other races would think is too sterile and bare. But it's for a reason. Wood flooring and carpeting would leave little bits of themselves behind, so it's hard to relax on the floor. Same with cushions and pillows. Things that would catch little parts of his body or where he'd soak into. Instead, it was a place he could laze around without worrying about that little extra strain. A little place all his own. That's not to say there wasn't already some toys and such, but they were on shelves so he could theoretically lie down on the floor and just let himself go loose. The bed was more an oversized tub with a series of indents to hold his central core in different ways. They just watch as he bounces from one end of the room to another as he explores it all. eventually curling into a little ball to roll over the floor as he gets a feel for it all, leaving nothing behind before he finally oozes to the center and reforms up like a little boy with a great big smile.